I have no idea where I got this Fire Stick from. I feel like I bought it like maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I wanted to revisit it because I think it might have an EMMC issue. Let me show you what it's doing. So we boot it up and it shows the Amazon logo, and then it shows the Android system recovery screen, and it doesn't give us any options to move forward. I don't know that this is an EMMC issue. I think it would be really cool if we could take the EMMC off the board, dump all the contents of the data, basically make an image of the chip, flash that image to a new chip, install it on the board, and then just kind of see what happens. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll put some flux around this chip so we can go ahead and refloat and get it off the board. Okay, there's our memory chip. All right, now before we mess around with the flash storage, let's go ahead and prep the board for the new chip. So just using a little bit of wick here, and there we go. Clean it with a Q-tip and a little bit of isopropyl alcohol, and we are good to go. As for our flash chip, let's go ahead and do the exact same thing. That way they are flat and ready for EMMC programmer. Clean up all the old residual flux. Now to get this right, we need to match up this arrow with the dot on the chip, which is this dot right here. Let's close the programmer and let's plug it into the computer. All right, so if we go over to disk management, it is going to load up like a ridiculous amount of partitions. See, the thing is with this EMMC chip is if there are any errors in the NAND, I'm not in a position to correct them. Okay, so there's probably an issue with this disk because my disk manager is completely frozen. We actually need to make a backup of the disk itself, and then we'll take that image and write it to a new disk. So typically for something like this, I would dump it with WinDisk32 Imager, but in this case, we can't use that. Now, the reason why we can't just dump the disk is because there are so many different partitions, and the way that Win32 Disk Imager works is it can dump like a partition. It doesn't just, unless the disk is like obfuscated or, you know, somehow it's encrypted, then you can dump an entire image, but in this case, we can't. We're gonna use WinHex tools, disk tools, we're gonna clone the disk, and we don't want that disk, we want this 7 gig disk. And we're gonna save it to a raw image file. We're going to save it to Fire Stick Backup, but we're going to call it firestick.image. All right, we are reading the data. So I'm going to let this sit and do its thing. In the meantime, we're going to reball the CMMC. Put the paste on, and now let's reball it. Beautiful. The balls look perfect. And bingo, we got a good chip. We're ready to rock and roll. Just to verify, let's clean off all the residual flux so when we put this in the programmer, it doesn't get the programmer pins dirty. All right, let's do it. Moving back over to our programmer, we still have 2 minutes left, so hopefully we can get through this quick and then right to our new chip. All right, just finished. Good to go, imaging complete. Put in our brand spanking new EMMC. I'm gonna go to disk tools, clone disk, select the Fire Stick image that I made. That's exactly the entire image of the disk. And then I'm gonna select the disk I'm gonna write the image to, and it's the 32 gig EMMC. Copy entire raw image, yes. And we'll start at sector 0 and copy the entire number of sectors. Leave these all empty, hit OK, 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 OK. And we're writing the image. If it does work, what we'll do is we'll disconnect the EMMC and then we'll reconnect it, and if it pops up a ridiculous amount of windows, then you know it worked. Okay, perfect. So our disk just finished. Now I'm going to compare the disks from this and the other data source, Fire Stick image. All right, search for differences from yep to there. Okay. All right, it's going to compare them, so we're going to let this wait and just make sure that all the data is the same. Okay, cool. No differences found. The file sizes were different, and that's probably because the EMMC that we copied to is a 32 gig EMMC rather than another 8 gig EMMC. That's good. Now let's go ahead and disconnect our EMMC. Let's connect the EMMC and see if we get the same partition thing that the original one was doing. And it is doing the exact same thing. So that is solid. That means we have imaged the EMMC perfectly. So let's go ahead and put it back on the board. Apply some flux. And what we're looking at is we need to line this paint up with pin number 1, and let's flow the chip. All right. There we go. It is flowed. All right, the Fire Stick is cooled down enough. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see what it does. All right, so we're looking for some current draw here. We had a little bit of current draw for a second there. Anything. Maybe, let me, there it is, 0.19. Okay, all right, so I think the Fire Stick is booting. Yes, Yeah, because nothing else is plugged into this thing. Okay, let's plug it into the HDMI. We got it booting. Okay, now let's see what it does. Are we gonna get recovery screen, or are we gonna get some actual bootage here? Still waiting for it to boot. Okay, so it turns out the 32 gig chip does not work when you write the image to it. The image works well, but because the chip is a different size, it doesn't boot. So I ordered some 8 gig chips here. So let's go ahead and re-flash our image to this chip. All right, now that we flashed our new image, let's go ahead and install this chip on the Fire Stick. Okay, our new chip is installed. Let's go ahead and test it. Fun fact, it's been several days in advance because I ordered the 8 gig chip. All right, let's go ahead and connect the power and see what the amp draw is. Do we have any current draw? Nothing. We have no control. We have current draw. Okay, that means that I soldered it good. Okay, we have current draw. It looks like I had gotten a little bit of flux in the charge port. Yeah, it's drawing. Okay, it's drawing current. Okay, let's look it up. We see Amazon logo. That's really good. Okay, so I just rebooted the Fire Stick, and I was curious to see if it would connect to my computer and see if we could run like either fast boot commands or ADB commands. ADB devices, what do we got? Nothing. So nothing fast boot, nothing ADB. Okay. So we just have a Fire Stick that just hangs. Unless this thing takes forever to boot, then, well, then that's the position I'm in. I think what is actually happening is it's probably a software corruption, and that's probably why there's an issue. But I'm not sure how I can actually flash a firmware to this thing when there's no real recovery menu that I can get to on this device. It was fun to try. It was my own thing, and it's a first-gen Fire Stick, so it's not really worth anything. But it was fun to just see what was possible.